On this show, I talk with an agency owner who talks about how he has grown his team, how he's grown his agency, and when is the right time to bring in a VP of operations, and how did he do it? So let's sit back and check out the episode. Hey, Jason, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me on. Appreciate
Oh
it.
yeah, man. I'm excited to have you on. I've got to know you over the past couple of years, but for the people that have not heard of you yet, tell us who you are and what do you do?
Yeah, my name is Jason Smith. I'm owner and CEO of Spotlight Social Media Consulting. We're a Facebook and Instagram only. I say only because we're not an all-in-one. We're Facebook and Instagram only ad agency, so we do paid media for Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome. Now, you have a quite interesting story of how you became an agency, or really even what you were doing beforehand. So
Yeah.
I think it's interesting just to tell people kind of where you came from.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, crazy story actually. When I tell it, people take a 360-degree turn and they're like, "Wait, what?" So I was a policeman for the Los Angeles Police Department for just about 14 years before I became an agency owner. And the reason why it's kind of crazy is because I went from getting shot at, chasing gang members, getting into shootings, all this stuff in the mean streets of LA. And literally, I mean that literally. I mean, we're talking about 250 homicides in 6 square miles in a year, and very violent places in Los Angeles. And went from that to the thing that kind of drove me to look for something else was, number one, I was never home. Was in court all the time. My days off were filled with court and overtime, and it was just, I never get to spend time with my family. And I just was getting old real fast, and it sounds cool when you're up on the stand testifying as a gang expert, weapons expert, and all this stuff. But in hindsight, personally, it's not that fun. So, and I've been involved in literally tons of stressful situations. I've been in shootings and been shot at and all that stuff. And man, for making $80,000 a year doing that, I just wanted to start looking for something else. And I stumbled across an opportunity where, running Facebook ads was a core part of one of my friend's businesses originally, like with a supplement company. And he just kind of asked me buddy to buddy, like, "Hey dude, you want to help me do these Facebook ads?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a dumb policeman. I don't know how to do this, but let's try it out." So ended up getting some good results. And then I did a little bit more research and ended up finding a certification course, and gosh, the rest is history. And next thing you know, I had 10 clients not even a year later and making, $30,000 a month, which I never thought possible from home. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
So which is more stressful, running an agency or getting shot at?
Man, I don't know. No, just kidding. Well, it's funny because people will, how clients are sometimes. They'll try to intimidate you or something, or say something to you. I'm like, dude, relax, okay? It's not, that doesn't work on me, okay? So, and when I shoot back stuff to them, they're like, oh, wow, this guy's not going to take, my usual agency fluff here, right? So it's pretty funny. But no,
Yeah,
I mean,
I interviewed a ex-Navy SEAL, and he was like, look, we just went over so much of training when we would
yeah,
get in situations,
yeah,
like we weren't stressed. And I was
right,
like, that's a great principle to apply, like in your
yeah,
agency, like go over
sure
these
is.
scenarios over and over again, and it shouldn't be that stressful.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't get stressed at too much. Even my wife tells me, like, man, you don't stress over anything. And I'm like, well, after being shot at and being in all these stressful situations, not much more in life is going to stress me out. So it's pretty funny. Even the guys on my team stress out about stuff. I'm like, guys, don't stress out about that stuff. Just, everything will work out. So yeah.
Yeah. How has your agency grown in the past couple of years? Like, what are some things that have worked for you that
Mhm.
you wish you knew back, when you were just getting started, messing around with Facebook?
Yeah, well, I mean, number one, I think having great people behind you and supporting you, that's probably the number one thing. I mean, I'll never forget, how I found you was through Ralph at Tier 11. But it was funny because the first time I applied to work with you, you denied me because I wasn't big enough, right? But that was great
I felt so
motivation.
bad.
No. And hey, you know what? I mean, that's why you have an elite mastermind that you do, because you get to pick and choose the people in it. And that's very important. And, I mean, I think number one, support and people behind you. I mean, Ralph and Deacon, those guys at Tier 11 have, and still help me today. I mean, those guys have been an integral part of why I've grown. And there's no, like, even though we do the same thing, there's plenty of business to go around. They're just cool guys. They've helped me a ton. I could call Ralph right now and say, hey, what do you think about this? And he would tell me, we could talk about it. So that's, I think, probably the number one thing that's helped me the most. And then being a part of, probably your mastermind and the group and the support there, where I can go to you or anybody else. And I mean, gosh, I just went to you recently, right, about some stuff, and you helped me out. So that probably for me is the number one thing. And number two is having a great team, having a great team of people who you can, like, and trust. And not get bogged down with people you can't trust or waste your time or whatever. Those are probably the two things that have helped me the most grow the agency and where I'm at today. And I mean, I literally started from nothing. Like, I had no clients, and I tell the story on my podcast. And, Deacon from Tier 11 is the one that gave me like my first two clients. And then it just kind of went from there, so having that support structure and those people in your life. And I say your life because it's not just all about business. And, you and I could go out and have a drink or something, and we're good friends, I think, outside of the business world. We also like the same things. I used to ride motocross. You're a big Jeep guy. So that's very important. So
Yeah, and we'll party this summer.
can't wait.
I know. Talk about your team.
Yeah.
And because a lot of people listening, they may be, trying to scale their team, trying to grow their team.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you find them? How did you find them? How did you evaluate them? Because, that's an integral part.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, most of my team came from recommendations from the mastermind, your mastermind. And Ralph actually helped me out Ralph and Deacon over there at Tier 11 helped me out on how to kind of screen people, give them a little bit of a test, have them record a Loom video. You can tell a lot about a person when they record a quick video. And of course, they're going to be nervous. And, I think I'm a pretty fair guy. Like, I can kind of read through the BS and the nervousness and stuff like that. But when it comes down to the core values of who they are as a person, you can tell a lot by just a 5-minute video. And we send them basically a little bit test and say, hey, give me a 5-minute overview of this test. And it's not so much of a test. It's really just like an aptitude test of how much they know about Facebook, because we all do it on resumes. We all overcompensate for all this stuff, right? And for them, going through this competency test just shows me how much they know. And then what I do is send them over to my VP of Operations. And actually, my VP of Operations came from a referral from a friend of mine. He used to be a professional skateboarder, was in the upper ups of OGO, the company OGO, big company. He used to work for them because he was a pro skateboarder. And then when he hurt himself, he went to work for OGO and loved the operation side. So I got to know him, and just a cool dude, and that's really what comes down to it, in my opinion. And yes, they have to have a good work ethic, but if they're going to be part of your team, like, you got to like them, right? Like, you really do, and people say, oh, well, keep your personal side out of it. Well, I mean, I tend to think there has to be a personal side in it to make a team really solid, a good culture, and a team that you can trust. So that's kind of how we evaluate stuff. And really, it's me talking to them or, interviewing them. And I have a pretty good, from my background and experience as a policeman, I have a pretty good idea of a person right when I talk to them. So
yeah, when they're lying or not.
Yeah, slap them around a little bit,
So are you the good guy or the bad cop or good cop? Would you play?
It's funny. A couple people that I've met, like clients, have said, "Oh man, you're such a nice guy." But then when I saw you in person, I was like, "Oh man, like, this dude could do some damage." I'm I mean, I'm not the tallest guy, but whatever. It is what it is. I'm all tatted down, and I definitely don't look like the normal marketer. And I do talk about that in my podcast, how I went into this Facebook ad agency world, and I don't look like your normal agency owner, and it's pretty funny. But I try to be the good guy unless the bad guy has to come rear its ugly head. And if it does, you better watch out because you may get pistol whipped or something,
Well, what I love that you said about, you have to like them. I think and you have to have that similar belief,
right.
of, right, in the values that you share as an
Yeah.
individual, because I used to hire the wrong way, where I would try to hire my identical twin.
Right.
Which,
Oh yeah.
because I'm hiring someone to pick up the slack for the stuff I suck at.
Right.
And then if I hire my twin, well, now we're going to have two people that suck at this one thing.
Yeah.
And it makes it really big challenge. So a lot of times you have to figure out, what do we personally believe in? Like, do we believe in resourcefulness? Do we believe in, failure and success and all this kind of stuff? And then it's not just about quizzing them and saying, are you resourceful?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's about coming up with scenarios that you can have them describe that a little bit without.
Well, and two, I actually made the mistake one time of hiring somebody who was too entrepreneurial, if you know what I mean. Like when you're an owner of a company and you're trying to hire, like exactly what you said, you can't hire your identical twin because that twin is then going to want to take over and be too entrepreneurial and almost do his own thing, which you got to follow the systems, you got to follow the policies we have, right? And an entrepreneur will not follow that. They need to be out doing their own thing, and so I look for that as well, like especially being a team player, and that's one of my biggest red flags is, if they say anything about me, then I'm like, then I kind of, have to side eye them a little bit and say, I don't think this is going to be the right fit, So
yeah, I love it. Let's talk about your VP of Ops of when you were, looking to bring them on. Like walk me through that scenario, because a lot of times people don't know when to bring on that person.
Yep.
So what was the scenario of, like, what was life like in the agency?
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about the next.
Yeah. Well, actually, I had come to you about that probably a year and a half ago, and was like, hey, I had a couple account managers that were managing accounts. And what I noticed really quickly was that there was all this information in my head and things that I was trying to disseminate to them, and balls were being dropped. Client communication wasn't the best. And they were coming back to me often saying, hey, Jason, I don't really know what to do here. And I'm like, what do you mean what do you mean you don't know what to do? But it was in my head. It wasn't on paper in an SOP. In, any operations was not in the agency. And that's what I needed at the time. And you're like, Jason, you're just going to have to drop the money. And, because I was worried about, do we make enough as an agency? Like, how much does one of these guys cost? I mean, all the things you don't really know about. And then when I finally found Eric, and it was a referral. I didn't really know he was good at operations. I kind of hired him to be a video editor because he's a high level video guy. And then he's like, oh, by the way, I'm also really good at operations. And I'm like, oh, shoot, really? Awesome. And then he's like, hey, I've been looking at all the stuff at the company, and I could really come in and help out with SOPs. And, we didn't have a project management system at the time. Like we didn't have Trello or, we had Slack, but Slack is not a project management system. It's a communication tool, right? And we kind of talked about it, and he came in, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, 6 months later, we actually have things documented. And hey, this is what you do to reach out to Facebook and appeal in an ad account that's been disabled. And everything started coming down in writing, and it was really cool to see that process evolve. And it's still evolving today, but it makes it easier for when we bring on somebody new. Hey, okay, review these videos. This is the kind of first step here. And yeah, we've evolved a lot as an agency since then. It's been pretty cool.
And walk me through when you actually started onboarding him, or when he started. Did you just kind of give him like, here's what we need to go do, and then he just go execute? Or did he start coming up with all the, hey, getting off Slack as a project management tool and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, no, he was great. I mean, he had the experience from OGO to be able to come in and say, okay, these are the top level things that we need to integrate, which is SOPs and what happens in this scenario. And Facebook's pretty complicated, so there was a lot of things. And we kind of sat down one day for half the day, and he just went through and picked my brain on everything and just kind of wrote it down. What are the most important things when we onboard a client? Like, we need to have a system for this stuff. So the account managers, when they onboard somebody, they can just check the boxes, which is really cool. And I mean, honestly, he's been probably one of my biggest assets in the company and the growth right now. And he went in and went in Lucid Chart and like mapped out, okay, you guys, we're going to have 10 account managers by this date, and we're going to be doing these things. And it's really cool, to have somebody like that. And at first I thought, man, I got to pay him all this money, but look how much money we're making now. It's pretty awesome to see
Yeah.
that evolve.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, they go, well, I don't know if I can fill up this person full time, because
Yep.
I think the holdup in their mind or their mindset is, I need to come up with everything that they need to go do.
Right.
Which I think is a mistake in a lot of
Well,
people.
not really, but yeah.
Right. Like,
yeah.
It's just like, well, I have to detail everything I want you to go do, rather than just saying, here's where the agency's going.
Yeah.
Now you're the how person.
Yep.
I'm the where and why.
Yeah.
You're the how.
Right.
And you just go execute it. And like you said, you hire the right person, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. And you may not hire the right person the first time, I mean, and don't get me wrong, we've had our ups and downs and we've had our disagreements and, but that's just, I mean, that's life in general, and you just got to get through it. And, yeah, he's a great guy, great, great person, very organized. He's an operations dude. That's exactly what I needed, because I am not an operations guy and I do not know how to go into Trello and build boards and cards and all that's like, I hate doing that stuff. So I'd rather be, talking to somebody about our agency and how good we are at Facebook ads and running high quality Facebook ads. That's what I'm good at. So.
Awesome. Well, this has all been amazing, Jason. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think would benefit the listeners?
No, I just the only thing I do want to add is when you're ready to hire an agency for your Facebook ads, make sure you interview them. You have some great questions for them. If you have a resource that you can reach out to ask if this agency is good or whatever, don't blame the current agency coming in for all the stuff that happened before, because chances are, if you hire the right agency, they can be a good partner. And I want to stress that word partner, because a lot of times business owners don't think a Facebook agency is necessarily a partner, but we're helping you grow your business, triple and quadruple your business. And that's what we've done for companies. And that's why they'll never leave us, is because we've grown them so much and we're such an asset to their brand. They'll never leave. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. And where can people reach out to you if they want to chat more about Facebook? And I highly recommend they do an amazing job. So where can they go and check?
Yeah, they can go to spotlightsocialadvertising.com or reach out to me, Jason, at spotlightsocialllc.com.
Awesome. Well, everyone go check them out. Reach out to Jason. They do an amazing job. And if you guys want to be surrounded by amazing agency owners, like Jason and many others, and just really be able to have that sounding board, that board of advisors to show you or see the things you might not be able to see and just have a lot of fun doing it, make sure you guys go to digitalagencyelite.com. That's digitalagencyelite.com. Apply. And maybe we'll have a conversation, and then maybe you get to hang out with Jason and I and a bunch of other really cool people. All right. Until next time, have a swank day.